Good afternoon, everyone. Appreciate as well everyone attending this afternoon. My name is Ron Tisch. I'm with the Tagos Group. Tagos Group is a professional services and consulting firm around supply chain and operational excellence, as well as technology solutions in the space. We principally focus in energy around oil and gas and utility companies with major clients such as Chevron, BP, Occidental Petroleum, and GDF Suez, to name a couple. Typically, when it comes to technology partners, Tagos tries to remain agnostic for our potential clients. However, we developed a relationship with Verdantis going back about a year ago because we found them to be a best-in-class provider around master data management solutions. We've experienced the pain of working with this issue in our previous positions in industry, as well as working for our clients as part of the Tagos Group. I suspect that we have different participants on the call that have varying maturity levels in terms of where they're at with their master data and master data management problems, and where they're trying to go with these issues, everywhere from those of you that may have client teams that are already working on this and really are looking for opportunities just to refine and improve, to those of you that are perhaps entertaining attacking and bulk cleansing master data. Most of this discussion that I'll provide will be around the bulk cleansing, but the Tagos Group offers services that can really provide assistance, we believe, throughout the process and the life cycle of master data management cleansing. So I'd like to spend a few minutes in the time I have this afternoon to walk you through where we think Tagos can be of assistance and what we think some of the important considerations should be for you as you take on this task of trying to cleanse your master data. From a big picture perspective, Tagos focuses its master data management and catalog consulting practice around three basic areas. First of all, the business case development for really taking on a project of this magnitude, as well as project management services and global project execution services. We wrap those services, consulting services, around, in this instance, the Verdantis, Harmonize, and Integrity technology solutions. More specifically, we think we can help you from an optimization perspective. Arthur spent a bit of time talking about some of the hard and soft cost savings that you can realize as part of an implementation of a tool, and importantly, a process around governing and managing your master data, cleansing it, enriching it, standardizing it, and deduplicating it. What I'd like to share with you this afternoon is where Tagos can help your team in a few specific areas. First, developing the case for action, and I'll talk more about that. Further, how do you manage that project for success, execute against the project for success, and ultimately maintain that success over time? You'll hear the Verdantis team talk about getting it clean and keeping it clean. Tagos has a few different support models in how we deploy and go to market to help our clients. Those are traditional consulting, professional services models, time and materials, if you will. We have managed services opportunities as well as hybrids therein. A few important themes that I want to point out to the folks on the call are three things that we think should be kept in mind for anyone undertaking an effort to cleanse their master data. One, having a strong education and understanding precisely where you are, and I'll go into more detail about that. Education about any tools, capabilities that you're going to engage to assist you in your projects. And thirdly, and this may seem a bit counterintuitive, but it's keeping the end in mind. We hear that often, but we found that to be critically important as you attack the project's phases and move forward in your efforts. So first of all, a few bullet points around developing the case for action. In our experience, we found that it's very important to truly baseline and level set the expectations of your core project team, your management team, and ultimately, if you go forward, the extended project team in executing around a project such as this. Certainly, what is MDM? Again, getting the data clean, but as importantly is keeping it clean once you've spent the time, money, effort, and resources to make that happen. From the technology perspective, what is the true value of these tool sets, such as Verdantis, their Harmonize, and Integrity tools? And there are many things. It's important, in the way I like to categorize it or classify it, is that these tools are force multipliers. They really help what people can do it better and faster, and do it in mass. More specifically, they bring to the table data sheets and spec sheets on the order of thousands that are tied to specific categorization taxonomies, such as UNSPSC, and those are brought to the table as part of the service offering that they provide. The tool also provides the ability to train and learn, which is extremely important for mass data cleansing. Allows your people or people that you bring to bear on the project to train the tool, provide the artificial intelligence engine with rules that can then be propagated to large volumes of data without needing to touch each item one by one. They provide for non-source enrichment, which gives you the ability on a percentage of the items to take manufacturer and manufacturer part number and scour the web to find and complete much of the attributes that you need for your item descriptions. Collaboration is critical, and when we talk about team organization here in a few minutes, it's critical to engage your subject matter experts in the project, and this tool allows for collaboration to improve the life cycle and the process efficiency with which you can make that happen. And finally, it allows you to enforce standards. All of those things are important, but the next message that I want to speak to is there really are no magic bullets. With respect to setting expectations for the project, it's important to understand having a tool in place is not going to eliminate the need for manual involvement. These tools reduce the amount of individual manual effort, but they don't eliminate it. These are areas where Tagos can potentially provide resources to supplement your internal teams to try to work through the data. You may need to go out and walk down the material in the actual facilities or warehouses, pull historical paperwork, or even pull data out of legacy systems if by chance you've recently converted from, say, a legacy system to a new ERP or a new enterprise asset management tool. And going in, there are no exceptions or substitutes for getting meaningful data. At the end of the day, it's the old cliche, garbage in, garbage out. If you provide the process or the tool a one-word short description for enrichment, you're likely to get a one-word short description in return. The next area is starting with the end in mind that I mentioned a moment ago. Strong consideration should be given and thoughtfulness should be given to what's going to happen with the data when I have it cleansed. How am I going to put that data back into my ERP system? How am I going to put it back into the catalog and so forth? The implications of that need to be thought through at the beginning of the process, not waiting until the end. Importantly, as I deduplicate these items, how am I going to deal with that deduplication process? How am I going to retire old catalog items, old inventory items, importantly, that may have on-hand quantity, and so forth? How clean really is a clean and enriched data item or material master? Not all items are created equal. You may need more attribution for a valve, likely, than you're going to need for toilet paper or consumables. And it's important to make some of that assessment as you're preparing the business case for action, as opposed to in the middle of the project. 100% attribution is probably not realistic for the majority of your items, nor is it necessary. It's really a value versus cost for the criticality of the items that you're trying to cleanse. Better attribution, though, leads to better accuracy in duplication identification, particularly, as Arthur mentioned, around form, fit, and function. So taking the time up front to really determine the level of data standards and the quality that is required by your organization is important. And finally, focus on operations. What will the impact be to the average end user? How will this affect how people search for items? Today, they may incorporate part numbers into their short descriptions because that's what they're used to. That's historically how it's being done. How will changing these descriptions affect their daily activities? Will they be able to look at a parts list from a bill of materials in the equipment system? So all of those factors need to be considered by the project team early on in the decision process. Tagos can help engage and guide your company through those different decision points as you undertake this effort. Next, the next big area is really around discovery, strategy, assessment, and approach. Really, and it's a little bit iterative, but where are you today? What is your environment from a systems and data perspective? You heard Jay speak earlier about multiple instances of systems. multiple instances of data. Do you have a fully integrated ERP, or do you have independent materials masters, independent equipment lists for your asset system, independent catalogs for your procure-to-pay processes? And what is the general data quality? Again, taking stock of where you stand in terms of data quality now before you engage in the ongoing project is an imperative step that you take, as well as things like IT considerations. Is your IT group comfortable with software as a service deployments for tools? Do they need it to be on-premise and the like? Again, Tagos can help walk through and guide you through these different decision drivers. Looking at your strategy assessment, what really is driving it from a business case perspective? Are there hard cost drivers from an ROI perspective, or is it other soft cost types of things? As Arthur pointed out, you can very quickly realize from an inventory optimization your return through the deduplication process. Is it material visibility that's the driver? Being able to find, where's my stuff is a term we hear throughout all of our clients. It's really being able to find things, find them quickly, so that I don't order something I already have sitting on the shelf potentially. And that gets to P2P, procure-to-pay efficiency and so forth. What approach are you going to take when you approach the project? There are advantages, particularly when it comes to master data management, to staging your project versus big bang. As with most technology projects, however, this is much bigger than just technology. An important approach that Verdantis takes and that we've shared with them is to try to do a proof of concept or a pilot and let the lessons learned from that drive your broader deployment strategy. Utilizing the tools Verdantis provides and the services Tagos provides can help achieve lessons learned earlier in the process, so that you don't learn those downstream when you're in the middle of the engagement. Next, from a business case development, most of which is probably self-explanatory to those of you on the phone, but Tagos can assist with if harder numbers are needed. Do you need inventory evaluations to determine the potential savings for your business case? Interviews with stakeholders throughout the group, whether it's in your materials group, supply chain, procurement, or IT, as the case might be. Time studies around where the improvements would really fall out for your particular organization, the way that you're structured. Clearly defining the requirements is a critical, and the scope is a critical aspect of what your expectations are going to be for any solution that you pick. What taxonomy are you going to select for your categorization? PIDEX, UNSPSC, perhaps just a standard noun modifier dictionary approach. Again, I spoke about attribution coverage previously. It's critical to think through those going into the project, how your processes will look, how your organization is expected to look going in. And lastly, technology evaluation and selection. Tagos can assist. If you don't have a particular technology solution in mind, we naturally prefer the Verdantis solutions, but where that you need to go through a more formal assessment and RFP process, Tagos can help to guide you through that process. So again, these are other areas where we think we can assist you going through these various work streams. Next, from having made the decision to proceed and really then preparing for project success and project managing for success, it's coming up with a specific project strategy and a plan. The Verdantis team and their tools can rapidly process the data that's provided to them, but it can't be underestimated the amount of time that's necessary for gathering the data, preparing the data, and QAing the data before you even try to process it through the tools that they provide. And will you have the internal resources available, or would you need additional boots on the ground for whatever the tasks might be, anything from project management to walking down the material to provide additional data, etc. And again, Tagos can assist with that. Educate for success. This is a session that Tagos is actually able to provide that will help your team understand taxonomy, the implications of your taxonomy, what noun modifiers really mean, the descriptions are built, and what is all of that going to mean to me as an end state. Really walking your team through what your data looks like in the beginning and what you're trying to have it look like at the end, so that there's a cohesive perspective by the team, by your subject matter experts, as they prepare to undertake the process. I talked about preparing the data earlier, but with a little more detail here. what can you really do now to reduce the amount of data that needs to be evaluated by an outsourced provider or by the tool? There are obviously poor descriptions that can easily be identified. One-word descriptions clearly would be an area to look at initially. Do you have manufacturer and vendor data for your items? Identification of any obvious duplicates that could be taken out of the population. Obsolete material that perhaps shouldn't be in your database any longer. And finally, evaluating your materials masters and catalogs from a usage history, both from a purchasing and an inventory turns and on-hand standpoint. Finally, organizing your team to perform and developing the proper organizational structure, both from a project perspective for getting it clean, but the ongoing project team for keeping it clean, and having the proper governance structure in long-term to maintain the success you've achieved by cleansing the data. Having the appropriate number of MDM resources within your team to manage that going forward. Deciding what subject matter experts do you want to have engaged throughout the project. Do you need a mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, or do you just need staff from each of your plant facilities, for example, or from your yard facilities? And finally, change management, not last but certainly not least, is change management and the impact that it will have to your team. So again, these are all different work streams that Tagos has experience in and believes that we could assist, and coupled with our experience with the Verdantis tools, it provides even further value. So now, time to execute. Where can Tagos assist you from an execution and truly getting your data clean? Services and the value that we provide during execution, as indicated, around project management oversight, the ability to provide domain expertise to assist with the quality assurance and control process of data as it's passed, say, from your organization to the Verdantis team, providing that extra layer of QA to identify things that perhaps the Verdantis team would not, and facilitating that process between your organization and theirs. The training, as I mentioned earlier, because if you choose Verdantis, we are familiar with their tool set and have the ability to provide not only training, but to operate the tools ourselves. I spoke about training already, and finally, facilitating the communication process. An existing project we're working on presently, that's the role we play, is facilitating between the company's core team and the Verdantis team, and providing that business liaison and domain expertise liaison between the two. From an ongoing data management perspective and or keeping it clean, Tagos can assist with a number of areas. You need to develop proper processes, procedures, organization, the roles may change. All of that needs to be developed if it hasn't been already. You may need an analysis separately from the bulk data cleanup to decide if you really want a tool to help keep the data clean going forward versus using a manual process. Some of that's volume driven. Or other factors that come into play as well. Training on the tool, and finally, functional help desk support. So Tagos provides a number of support models, one of which is simply functional support. If you decide as a company to self-perform, in other words, to license the integrity tool for keeping your data clean, Tagos can provide functional support to that tool would that you need it. So to recap briefly the various service areas, and these can be provided either on-site or in a remote capacity: project management, data collection and assessment, material walk-down services where needed, implementation and execution support, training for those organizations that might choose to self-perform, getting you on the tools before you self-perform, and then functional support after you've taken possession or taking ownership of the tool or the license, functional help desk, harmonize as a service as an outsourced turnkey option, and integrity as a service as an outsourced turnkey option. The one area that I didn't speak to in detail, and I'll just mention in closing, is that where there is assistance needed from actually inventory assessment and optimization recommendations around your inventory strategies, or how you want to revise maybe your min-maxes and order points, Tagos can leverage its deep supply chain expertise to provide recommendations there. So I appreciate your time this afternoon. I hope that provides some insight into the optimization and value add that Tagos can bring when coupled with the Verdantis solutions, and I appreciate your time. Jay, I'll turn it over to you.